All right, well, I'm going to start then. So, hi, everybody. It's really good to be here and be able to talk to you guys. So, like Stacy said, my name is Hannah, and I own Pipsqueak Boutique, which is a small business in Fenton, and we sell children's clothing on consignment. So, people will bring in their old stuff that doesn't fit their kids anymore, and we'll sell it for them. They get a commission of it, and then other people can come buy the new stuff for their kids. So, I didn't always own this business. I didn't start up this business from the ground. That is, I started working at this store when I was roughly 16. So I was still in high school. And then I worked there for several years and kind of got to know the ropes a little bit because the owner would show me different things that she did in her day-to-day business side of things, not just helping the customers, but also on the other end with ordering new stuff in or having to deal with all the electricians and different things that you have to do behind the scenes for running a business. So I got a little feel for that and just really liked what I saw as far as what the previous owner did in her job in running a small business. When I was, I guess roughly 6 years ago, I started another small business, which was a dance school called His Feet Dance, and we taught dance classes to homeschool students. A couple days a week, we would run classes for them. And that business, I ran it for about 6 years, and we had several students, up to 150 students who joined. So it really got big, and it really got to be something that I thought was going to be my path, and I thought that's where God was going to lead me. But then when the previous owner of Pipsqueak was ready to sell, I remembered working there and remembered how fun it was and remembered that I loved that too. So I spent a lot of time praying about what God wanted me to do because I felt like maybe I could do both. I could run both small businesses, but I needed to know it was from the Lord. So after lots of prayer, I felt like that was the right thing. And so for about 3 years, I ran both businesses, and I had the dance studio, and I also had the clothing store. So running a small business was not something that I always dreamed of doing or something that I felt like, since I was a little girl, I wanted to run a small business. But it was really one step at a time that I felt like God was leading me down the road of starting a small business. So I was homeschooled all throughout for my whole education, so you guys understand that. And that really gave me the opportunity to try lots of new things. So I tried dance and realized how much I loved it, and I tried working with children's clothing and realized how much I loved that. And I also had the opportunity to run a lot of small businesses when I was a little girl, making things and selling them and doing, small business kinds of things. So I had the opportunity to learn lots of different things. When I graduated high school, I prayed a lot about colleges because, that was the thing to pray about when you graduate high school. College is a next step, but it doesn't have to be the next step. And the more I prayed about it and even applied for several schools and was seeking the Lord to see if he was opening those doors, it just didn't seem like the right fit for me. So I never went to college. So running a small business was something that I really learned one step at a time. And thankfully, the dance school started really small. So I was able to take one baby step at a time until it was a bigger business. And I think that prepared me to be in the place where I am now of running Pipsqueak and learning this business. So from my experience, I didn't have to go to college. And that was what God taught me and what he had for me. But of course, that doesn't have to be for everybody. But running a small business is something that you can do without an education, as long as you have the willpower and you have the Spirit of God behind you and you're following in obedience to him. One thing that I always told myself when I was running a small business, especially when things got really hard and there were big decisions that I had to make because I was the business owner but I didn't know what decision to make, I kind of reminded myself that God is the boss of me and he's the one who owns the small business. And that really helped me because I didn't have to make the decisions on my own. And God is something he's not only in your spiritual life or in one side of your life, but he's in all areas of your life, even your career and the things that you feel like he's calling you to do. So that's something that I guess really helped me, is just to remember that God's the one who's in control of every area, including my small business. So I'm going to hand it over to my husband, John, now, and he's going to share some experience from his small business owning.
So my name is John Manwiller. I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. And basically what that means is I get to help people with their finances, with their investments. I get to help them trade stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all that kind of stuff. Some of the main things I help them with would be their goals like retirement planning or life insurance or education savings, estate planning. Each one of those things are something that I help people with. So I was also homeschooled through high school. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I got into the world of finance. When I first started college, I was taking a couple classes, and I knew that I wanted those classes to be adding up towards something, because you don't want to have all these credits that end up being wasted. So I was praying a lot with my dad and by myself about what I wanted to do as a career, and also shadowing a lot of different professions. I love what you guys are doing here, exploring the world of what opportunities there are. And that's what I was doing too. And my grandma actually worked for a financial advisor with Edward Jones. She was his assistant. So she had me come shadow him, and I got to sit in on some appointments he was having with those clients. And I specifically remember one of them coming in and saying, "We know our retirement is going to be okay because of you. Like, we don't know what we would do without you." And I thought that was so cool how irreplaceable he was. So I decided then and there that was my dream job, to become a financial advisor. And I studied finance in college. I went to Walsh College and got my bachelor's degree in finance. And I actually got hired by Edward Jones right out of college to go through all the licensing and training. So when I finished my schooling, I went through the Series 7 and the Series 66 licensing exams to become licensed as a broker and as a financial advisor. You can kind of think of them as a little bit similar to taking the bar to become a lawyer. It's kind of similar. And then I also got the life and health insurance licensing exams. And so when I finished all that, Edward Jones sent me to their headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri for 6 months to do training there, which was awesome. I got all kinds of training on how to become a financial advisor. And so at the end of it, they said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "Livingston County in Michigan." And they set me up with an office in Brighton. And then I had an opportunity to take over an office in Howell. So there are a few great benefits in my mind to working for Edward Jones. And I guess one of the huge ones is the flexibility. They asked me where I wanted to go. They didn't say, we only have an opening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I said I wanted to go to Brighton, and that's where they sent me. The other place of flexibility I have is with my schedule. The reason I'm able to be here right now talking to you guys is because I don't have a boss telling me when I have to be at work or when I don't. I can do whatever is beneficial to my practice and to my business, whether that's going out doing networking, or whether that's coming and talking to high schoolers, or whether that's going and playing racquetball with a bunch of old guys and talking to them about their retirement plans. So I have a lot of flexibility there. Probably one of the hardest parts about getting started in the world of finance, though, is building up clientele and finding clients. And so the way that Edward Jones had me do that on the initial side was door knocking. They'd have me go out, knock on doors, meet people, kind of cold call them, which can be uncomfortable. But I saw it as I didn't have a product to sell. I didn't have something that I was trying to sell people. I was just going out for a walk on a nice day and meeting people. And I would just come up and say, "Hey, my name's John. I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. Thought I'd come out for a walk on this beautiful day and meet some of the neighbors." And so what I would do, and this is the reason I brought this handout, this is a brochure of Edward Jones that I would hand them, and I slipped my business card in here for any of you. It's got my cell phone number on it too, so if you have any other further questions, or if I can help you down the road, feel free to reach out to me. But on the first inside page, if you turn to it with me, there are 5 different things that we at Edward Jones help people with: planning for retirement, enjoying retirement, paying for education, preparing for the unexpected, saving money on taxes. So I would just turn to people and say, which of these things is most interesting to you? Which of those things is something that I can help you with? So that's why I brought that to you, just so you can have something to see with that. In the world of finance, I can tell you that financial advising is client-facing. I get to work with clients all the time, but there's all kinds of things you can do with finance. You can be a financial analyst. You can study stocks. You can be a stock broker, just a trader. You could work for someone like Fidelity and trade stocks. You could work on an exchange. So the world of finance is not going obsolete anytime soon, and there's all kinds of jobs within it. And it can also be pretty lucrative too. I see salaries, starting at 60, 70,000, and then even with Edward Jones going up to 5, 6, 700,000. So there can be a lot of potential as well. So I think that's all I had to share. What questions do you guys have? Do you want to come join me? Yeah, that's a good question. There are some financial advisors that don't have a college degree, but they're very few and far between, and a lot of them have had experience with a lot of other firms working up to that point. And so if Edward Jones was to hire somebody as a financial advisor straight out of college, they're going to want to see at least a 4-year degree. Depends on the firm. The way I'm compensated is I get a salary for the first 4 years because they assume I'm not going to have any clients for the first 4 years. And then I get commissions based off of the investments that my clients have. So right now I'm in my 3rd year. So I have, 1/4 of my salary left, and it keeps going down every year. But the thought is that my commissions keep going up. That's a good question. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I went to Walsh College in Troy. They're a really well-known business school in the area that has only majors in finance, accounting, and business. That's pretty much all it is. But I know other advisors in the area with Edward Jones who've gone to any number of universities. And some of them that didn't even study finance. I mentioned before they want to see a 4-year degree, but I've also met other advisors who've studied economics or who have even studied just plain old business or even have studied like engineering and worked at an engineering firm for a while and then decided they want to make the transition into being a financial advisor. The thing I can tell you about starting out as a financial advisor is you don't have to be an expert on the stock market or on mutual funds or anything like that because they'll train it to you. They'll teach it to you. Really, it's about relationships. I get to build relationships with my clients and manage their emotions and their expectations with how the stock market moves. Yeah. Yeah, good question. So there's I guess, not a limit that Edward Jones imposes on me, but there's a physical limit of what I could keep track of. So I am required to meet with my clients at least once a year. A lot of my clients want to talk more than that because the market's going to move within a year. But if you picture, if I have 300 clients, I'm talking to maybe one a day. If I have 900 clients, I'm having 3 appointments every day. So a lot of times I'll see sort of a sweet spot between having like 400 to 600 clients so that I can talk to them maybe a couple times a year and have, 3-4 appointments in a day and I'm not running myself ragged. Do you have any questions for Hannah?
Yeah, that's a good question too. It's really hard for me personally to separate my personal life from my business life because, an email might pop up and I just spend 10 minutes answering that in the middle of the rest of my day. So I've got 2 other employees who are working with me. One of them is Miss Stacy, and they really help me to not have to be at the store physically very often. So I'm at the store physically roughly 15 to 20 hours a week. And then a lot of my administration work and such I can do from there while I'm at the store. But then probably at home I may be also spending, 10 to 20 hours a week. So I would estimate it's about 40 hours that I spend altogether. But in some seasons that are busier, I might spend more time. And in some seasons that are slower, maybe less. So that's the beauty of it is it's so flexible with running a small business. And also another thing I could add is that the more you pour into your own small business, if that's something you guys are interested in, the more you're going to get back from it. So it is flexible. You could put a lot less into it, but then you're going to get a lot less back from it. So, and I'm sure that John can say the same thing too for his small business. So it really depends on how much you're willing to pour into it because that's how, like some of the small businesses you see grow super fast, like they've poured a lot into it. So it just depends on how much you're willing to give. But I would say that I roughly spend 30 to 40 hours a week working for the business. There was a beauty to it also because someone had poured all the work of building it up, so I didn't have to put as much into it. A lot of the systems and things were already in place, and I didn't have to go seeking for all the new things to put into the business. So that was a good thing about it, but I think just from a personal standpoint, I felt like my heart was more in the dance studio. When I got married to John, I was kind of feeling like there was too much on my plate, but that God was asking me to sell one of the businesses. So I was praying a lot about which way he wanted me to go, and felt like he was leading me to sell the dance studio. So I just sold it a few weeks ago. So there's a new owner of the dance studio now, so I don't own it any longer, which is, another thing that just personally was kind of bittersweet for me to see that go and sell it to someone else. But I really felt like that was where God was leading me, and I'm really excited to see the new owner take over. And she was also someone who was homeschooled all through high school, and actually she hasn't even graduated high school yet, so she's only 17, and she just bought the business from me. So that's also just like an amazing testimony to what God can do to like prepare someone to run a small business at home. So yeah, she doesn't have any college experience either, but she jumped right in and she's already doing a great job. That's amazing. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Have any of you guys ever like played with the stock market or done market simulations or anything like that? It's really fun. And if you guys are interested in talking further about personal finance or about the stock market, you've all got my cell phone number. You can reach out to me anytime.
That's it.
So, we've looked at it with my dad briefly.
Yeah.
Do you have to be like a certain age to like invest in stuff? Like I know obviously there were.
Good question. So in order to have your own brokerage account, you have to be 18.
Okay.
But you can have a custodial account. So you can open an account with Edward Jones or with any number of brokerage firms, and you just have to have a custodian. It can be an older brother, it can be a dad, it can be a guardian, it can be whoever it is. But once you turn 18, that custodial account will convert into a brokerage account and will become 100% yours.
Okay, so it would just be like under another adult.
Yeah, exactly. Just somebody else. Could be anybody else who's over 18.
Okay.
Yeah. The nice thing about investing when you're this age is your income is probably a lot lower at this stage than it will be maybe in a few years. And so any of the capital gains or any of the growth on your investments at this age, you could sell and you're not going to pay any gain. If you have a custodial account, it's taxed on your Social Security number. And so if you sell something and have a capital gain, if you make less than like $40,000 a year, you're not going to pay any taxes on it.
I can share something about that too, just personally, but when I was working for Pipsqueak Boutique before I purchased it, I would put aside all the money I was making into an Edward Jones account, not with him because I didn't know him yet. So I was putting everything aside, and because I did that and because I was investing that money, when I purchased Pipsqueak, I paid cash for it and didn't have any debt, and I was able to just take what I had invested and put it into the new business. So that's another good thing about starting young and starting now is if you take everything that you're making right now and put it into an account like this, you're going to be able to either have it build up for college or for buying a business or for starting a business or even just saving it and keep saving and putting away everything that you have so that you have something nice and built up for retirement or for whatever God calls you to in the future. It's amazing.
So for your clients, do you focus on like more long-term investments for them or like short-term kind of thing?
Yeah, Edward Jones is primarily focused on long-term investing for clients who are serious for retirement or something long-term. That doesn't mean that I'll give you an example. I've got some clients who will come to me and say, hey, I just sold a house for $200,000. I want somewhere to park it where it's not going to lose money to inflation as bad as just leaving it in the bank. But I'm also going to want to use it in maybe another year or two to buy another house. And that's something I can help them with. But the place where I'm not a good fit for is the person who wants to be a day trader or who wants to trade options or who wants to trade penny stocks. All of those, in my opinion, blur the line between investing and gambling, right? And so that's not what I do. So that's a good question.
Anything else? Well, we're bringing cupcakes if it's getting quiet.
Sounds
Maybe
good.
everyone knew it was cupcake moment.
They're for only Hannah and John. The rest of you guys are gonna the rest of you guys are gonna have to bum one.
We just made these in our
Thanks.
Wow.
Did it go good, Amy?
Good to see you again. How are you? And then we have a thank you card for you as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Yes, thank you very much.
I'll take the microphone.
Oh, yes, okay.
The battery died, I mean.
Sorry about the back.
That's all right.
I noticed after a while, you're like, should we, you did replace? Oh, but you know what happens when we replace batteries, how we put them, oh, wait,
It just got me in there.
no. Give it to your brother. Did you guys do co-op when you were younger?
Yes.
Yeah.
We did it with,
Yes. Home, and they have home team, and they have, yeah. Yeah, I don't know where